Hey guys, this is Darren and welcome back to the ASE podcast, where we explore the self-employed creative life and how you can do your best work, how you can make it as a creative entrepreneur, make a living, build a great life. This week, I just want to share some of my thoughts. It'll be a shorter episode than usual, and hopefully you guys will find this interesting. I've been pondering this question a lot, this balance between living for the present or living for the future. We all know we could die tomorrow. It's never been more clear than during this pandemic. Not to be bleak, but it is what it is, right? And so there's this argument that no one knows what tomorrow will bring. Yo no sé mañana. So we should live for the present. But, of course, statistically speaking, most of us will live to an elderly age, and we need to be kind to that future self, right? And save for a rainy day. So how do we balance this present and the future? And I remember struggling with this question a lot in my 20s in almost a schizophrenic manner. I would spend 1 year just living completely for the present, followed by, 2-3 years living completely for the future. So what do I mean by that? My first year after college, I was a lecturer at Neon Polytechnic in Singapore. It was my first time living in Singapore and in Southeast Asia. And my whole approach to that year was, look, I'm going to be heading back to the States. So I am going to live this year like, it's my last time in Southeast Asia. I'm going to visit as many countries as possible. I'm going to soak up as much of Singapore and the surrounding region as I can. I don't want to have any savings left by the end of this year. I want it to just be full of amazing experiences, right? That was my approach. And then the next year, I was working for a shipping company, and I had other corporate jobs after that where it was all about building towards the future because I was trying to build up my CV, right? So that I could climb the corporate ladder. Some of these jobs I was less than enthused about, but I stuck with them because I needed to stay with a job for at least 2-3 years, right? To show my commitment to the organization, to climb the ladder, to move from analyst to senior analyst to manager, etc. And those were clearly years spent towards building the future. What's interesting about this question is, I thought this question, this approach to life, I thought this was a young person's problem, but I've realized it's actually more pressing as you get older because you literally statistically have less life to live and less time to build for tomorrow. So now more than ever, I feel this urgency to do both, to build for the future, to build for a rainy day, but also to soak up every drop of joy because you don't know when the party's going to end, right? The world's religions and the great philosophers and thinkers of our time, I'm sure they all have their opinions. This is just my humble submission, my humble view. I believe that you can do both. You can live for the present and for the future. And I will actually include another self, your past you, living for your past you too. So how can you be kind to your present self, be kind to your future self, and be kind to your past self? What is that sweet spot? Last year, when I was exploring the perfect day and asking strangers and friends alike about what their perfect day was, do check out episode 3 to learn what I found out and discovered from that experiment. I came across this beautiful quote from Kalidasa, who's a Sanskrit poet from the 5th century in India. And he wrote, "Yesterday is but a dream, tomorrow is only a vision. But today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope." Wow. I remember when I read that for the first time, I was stunned. It just really captured this balance very beautifully. All we have is the present. So what can we do right now that will make us smile with satisfaction when looking back? And that gives us hope for a better future, right? I think this is the right approach to balancing being kind to present you, past you, and future you. I'll tell you what my answer is in short, and then I'll explain it. So I think that the best way to do this is to do things, to spend present resources, doing things that bring you joy, that compound positively for the future, right? So to do things that bring you joy, that compound. So what exactly do I mean by this? let's take that first part of the quote, right? Today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness. So what would make me look back at my past with a smile? I thought about this deeply, and it was 3 things. Number 1, by doing my best to treat people right, to contribute, and to act with love and integrity. And those are really big words that I will probably never live up to. But if I can do the right thing and do my best to try to do it the right way, I'll always be able to look back fondly on my actions, right? Those are memories that will only make me smile. A second way to look back and smile, to make yesterday a dream of happiness, would be if I really lived my life with more zest, boldness, and humor, to go for it, right? Whatever that is, and to allow myself to be happy and ridiculous and to just be bold and just enjoy every moment, right? So both these 2 things are kind of like how I go about my daily actions, is what I realized. And finally, one last thing that would make me smile looking back is I would honor my past self if I learned from his actions, right? Good or bad. So that I really learned from my experience and course corrected. I would be dishonoring my past self if I just kept doing the same thing and, not changing for the better, whatever that is. So the way I do this more practically is with daily and weekly reviews, right? So I can kind of keep tabs on what activities, people, and time spent really bring me joy and what things don't bring me joy that I shouldn't repeat. So those are 3 ways to make yesterday a dream of happiness. How can we make every tomorrow a vision of hope? So I've thought about this as well, and here are my thoughts. First, by doing things you enjoy that compound over time. And so 3 obvious ones are our health, maintaining your psychology, and relationships, right? I mean, I love to exercise, and so that is a great thing to do today. That's really going to contribute to my health tomorrow. Similarly, working on my mindset and my psychology, whether that's through reading books or through therapy or talking to others, that is only going to compound over time, having a very empowering way to view the world. That can only help me. And finally, relationships, of course, and planting those seeds now, because those seeds will grow into, relationships that will bring you so much joy and meaning later in life. So I think those are 3 obvious ones. And then I have business skills and areas that I also think will compound over time that I really enjoy. And I've decided to focus on those. Those will be different for everyone, but I have my 3. So that's one way to make every tomorrow a vision of hope. The second one is to save and invest, not just money, right? I mean, money is the obvious example. We've all heard this before, to save for retirement, to save for your future self. And David Bach, the author of The Automatic Millionaire, he's put forward this chart that says how much you save for yourself determines your wealth, right? So if you save 0% of your income, you're likely to be poor. If you save 5 to 10% of your income, you're likely to be middle class, 10 to 15% upper middle class, 15 to 20% rich, and 20% plus, you're likely to be able to, retire early. I think, though, that we can take the same principle and apply it to our other scarce resources like time, attention, and energy. So I'll just give a few concrete examples. For example, time. Let's say you're working 40 hours a week. Then why not devote 10% of that, say 4 hours, to look towards the future? What will the future you need in the workplace? Whether that's relationships, skills, whatever it is. And as solopreneurs, I love this quote from Peter Drucker, the famous management theorist, that says that entrepreneurs should not slaughter tomorrow's opportunities on the altar of yesterday. So it's very rich language, but the idea is that we need to pay attention to see what's going on in the world, what trends are taking place, and look for where the opportunities will be because of what has happened. This isn't about predicting the future. This is about looking at what has already happened and what are the inevitable consequences of what has happened. In other words, getting out of the office, getting out of our own heads, and instead of being heads down all the time, looking up, seeing what's going on, and really thinking about where you want to be for the future, right? 4 out of 40 hours, that's 10%. Or you could think about it as, if you're working 8 hours a day, 1 out of 8 hours, thinking about the future and doing those important but non-urgent things, right? To help and benefit future you or your future business. Another example is spending 10% of your week paying attention, right, to what your future self will need. And I'm a notoriously bad planner. I'm a horrible, horrible planner. And this has been one of my hardest things to do, is to be disciplined about saying, okay, looking forward a little bit, right? Looking forward to the week, looking forward to the month, looking forward to the year, like what things you want to have happen and planning them. Honestly, I hate doing this, but it's so essential that you have this foresight. It's going to shape what you're doing and why you're doing, more importantly, what you're doing, right? So I think putting aside that time and energy for your future self, say 10 to 20% of your day or of your week, is a really good practice. And that's the way I'm kind of thinking about building for tomorrow. So, in conclusion, I think that the most important question for living for the present and living for the future and living for your past self is, what activities that bring you joy compound over time? Because what brings you joy now will bring happiness when you're looking back, and what compounds over time will give you hope for the future, right? So how can you spend more of your day and resources doing these activities? And that's the big question, the one important question to remember. What activities that bring you joy compound over time? And supporting this big question are like the two pillars, right? One is, are you honoring your past self by learning, adjusting, and committing to living courageously? This is about how you do what you do. That's going to make you look backwards to your past experiences and smile. And the second pillar is, are you honoring the future you by saving and dedicating, say, 10% or more of your assets of time, money, energy, and attention for future you? The clearer your why, the easier it is to be kind to the future you. This is about getting clear on why you're doing what you're doing, getting clear on your cause and your purpose, and dedicating the time to that. So I hope maybe this sparked some ideas for you. Some of you might be going through this whole challenge of whether to live for the present or to live for the future, or what the balance is. I'd love to hear your thoughts over at upstartist.tv/ACE, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, please press subscribe and leave us a review on your podcast app. It helps more people discover this show. Also, you can find all the show notes and links mentioned in this episode at upstartist.tv/ACE. That's ASE. Hope to see you there.